Weirdly, one of the terms of the settlement was that Matt Hutchins would be an executive producer of the revived movie Rust as it continues shooting and gets made and then released with this same cast. I got nothing. David,
well,
I don't know. I don't get it.
Okay. I'll there are theories floating around. Some are mine and some are not mine. The settlement is to be expected. I mean, the settlement is the admission of guilt that, he could say, I'm not settling this. I want to go to civil trial and get a judgment. It'll make me feel better than a settlement. Settlement is as good as admission of responsibility. From what I understand, finances are not, a meaningful consideration here. So it's not as though this was about the money from Hutchins' family. From what I understand, very well to do regardless. It's the executive producer aspect which will raise a number of eyebrows. Now, and not to be too cynical and to give the benefit of cynical doubt to the husband, it's conceivable. He internally he says, "I don't want my wife's death to be in vain. At the very least, this should be her legacy. Finish the project." And maybe in his mind, he says, "Okay, the way to commemorate her is to be executive producer and make sure that this happens." I don't know. There are some people
with Alec Baldwin. I mean, that's the thing. That's like, okay, maybe it's one thing. If it's like we're going to start anew. We're going to have different actors. We're going to, it's the same cast. He's going to oversee some set with Alec Baldwin. I mean, people are going to go see this out of a voyeuristic, ghoulish desire to see the scene in which the woman was killed. Like, I just can't understand. God forbid I ever knew somebody who suffered a tragedy like this. My advice would be run. This is not something you want to revive. I don't know anything about. I think the husband's a lawyer. He's not even in the film business.
Yeah, and I won't get into too many things. Theories that can neither be proven nor disproven. I could understand the idea that he wants his wife's memory to live on, and this project should not end with her death. Okay, executive producer. From what I understand of the industry, and this is coming from people who are smarter than me or know it better. It's typically they call it a sort of an honorary title. It's about someone who it's to show someone raised money for the movie. So maybe he thinks it's an honorary
or just
title.
To show you're important.
Yeah, or just to honor, and maybe that's the way he's visualizing this in his mind. One of the theories, and again, this is a shout out to Eric Hunley and Mark Robert. Some of the theories about politics in this is that they sort of, if you want to protect Alec Baldwin, for whatever the reason, political connections, stardom, whatever, a way to try to put some pressure on prosecutors not to prosecute, settle between the two main parties. And so that you say, well, look, there's been some justice here, but not only is there a settlement, we're going to continue production of the movie. It would be very bizarre if you started pressing charges against the people who are now making the movie together to the extent that some of them stay in the same production. I suspect some of them would not be in the continued production. Others would. So if they settle, the plaintiff in a civil suit and the extended victim in a criminal suit says, well, now we're partners in this. So it would be very weird if you actually prosecute my partner in this project. Well, that could be sort of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Let's not press charges against Baldwin. That would be a more sinister way of looking at it. For the time being, Hutchins is a grieving widow. He's got a kid who's going to grow up without a mother now. I'll go to the side of he wants to see this project come to fruition. He doesn't want his wife's death to be be extinguished with this her project, which was she was in love with this project as well. But people will have theories, and they're not going to be wrong for hypothesizing as to what the heck is going on.
The whole thing is shocking to me. It's shocking to me that he would want the project to go forward with Alec Baldwin and that he would want his name on it. I just, God bless this man. He's been through a horrific tragedy. To me, it's like all this is happening so fast. I do wonder whether he's going to regret that someday because he suffered the loss. He sued. He watched this guy go all over television defending himself and smearing his wife. And then he settled all within this 8-month period. It's too much too soon for this guy. And now they're going to resume the production. I assume they're not going to have the same armorer and the same ammo provider and the same AD.
I mean, you assume, but I mean, who the heck knows? There's continuity issues, not only in terms of actors, but in terms of style, et cetera. I suspect stylistically, it's easier to have a shift or not notice a difference, but obviously with the actors you can't. But yeah, it's bizarre enough that people will ask questions. I don't know if there was in the settlements, if there's a portion of revenue splitting from the movie, but as an executive producer, one can assume or imagine that might be the case.
I'm sure there is.
Yeah, revenue might not be the big issue, but it is true, Megyn. It's a good point. Like some people are going to see this because they want to just see the horror. Others are going to,
of course.
I think most people are not going to say, I want to see what this movie would have been. Otherwise, it's, I want to go live a piece of this tragedy. And so it's going to be sort of a gawking rubberneck.
It's the same. Yes, exactly. I was just going to use that term, rubberneck. It's the same reason we rubberneck. God forgive us all. We do it. We want to see what's there. We're all fascinated by our own mortality. We all know it's going to come for us eventually. We hope it's not going to come in a gruesome way like a car accident or an accidental shooting. But there's something very human about wanting more information about a situation like this. And then it can veer over into exploitative, and this will, because there will be people not wishing any of these characters well who will be like, it's just going to be, it's going to be gross.
Bottom line is, you still have investors and you still have interests that don't want to see this end now because it's a non-monetizable waste as is. So you even have economic interests, which are very sinister, which are, okay, forget the tragedy. And by the way, or even exploit the tragedy. It'll make it even more marketable. We'll make more money off of this, and we'll get back our investments.
That sounds more like Hollywood. That sounds more like them. But now, as we divvy up the responsibilities between the guy with the ammo, the armorer, the AD, Alec Baldwin, the woman who oversaw the props on the set and sort of ran herd on the crew, who gets rehired could be potentially relevant. Like, who makes that decision? And is it an admission by the production company? If the armorer doesn't come back, they think it was her. If the ammo guy doesn't come back, they think it was him, right? Like, that could be interesting too.
As far as that, there's an easy answer to that. I don't expect Mamie Mitchell to come back. And I don't think anyone's going to say
she's the one suing, the script supervisor.
Yeah. I don't expect the armorer to come back because I think some of these people are going to have experienced professional trauma to such a degree that they're going to find other lines of work right now. I've heard people, discuss that. Like, okay, if this person doesn't come back, they're tacitly blaming them. I think that the people behind the camera are probably not going to come back just because it would be too traumatic. The question is going to be with Sousa. Is he going to come back as the director? That I could see happening. Definitely a different armorer, if only for insurance purposes. I mean, who's going to insure this movie going forward?
Yes.
If the person who was responsible for a death or involved in it, culpable or not, is back on the set. Like, no, a new armorer. I don't know what the other positions would be that you'd have to fill for liability insurance reasons. Stylistically, I could see the director coming back, not the assistant director, and Baldwin obviously has to be there. But no, you could easily explain away not coming back without it meaning any form of culpability.
I can't imagine Joel Sousa is going to come back too, wounded by the same bullet that killed Halyna, but who the hell knows? You know what would be a great gift this year? To take away inflation for someone. How about the whole country while you're at it? While you can't control people's gas prices or home prices, you can stop meat inflation for yourself and everyone you know. And that would be a good one because meat tends to be pricey. How can you do it? A subscription to Good Ranchers during their Black Friday special. Beef prices are expected to go up another 15% in 2023, but Good Ranchers customers who use my code Megyn will experience zero inflation all year long. That's because every subscriber locks in their price for the life of their subscription. That's so good. You can also get their Black Friday offer right now. 2 free 12-ounce Black Angus New York strip steaks and 2 free pasture-raised chicken breasts with any order that uses my code MEGYN. Go to goodranchers.com to find the perfect box for you in their curated selection of America's best meat and seafood. Give the gift of zero inflation and America's best meat to yourself or someone else this season. Good Ranchers' award-winning service and quality are why they have over 7,000 5-star reviews. Visit goodranchers.com. Subscribe as well with my code Megyn at checkout to grab this Black Friday special, their best offer of the year. 2 Friday Black Angus steaks, 2 free pasture-raised chicken breasts, all with Good Ranchers, American meat delivered. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.